First of all, I'm a big fan of what's happening both in the NFT space and the metaverse. I do believe that this is a great way for brands like eToro to basically participate in the metaverse.
You can be an artist, you can be a creator, you can be a player. It's going to create new form of entertainment, new way to build value, a whole new digital economy, millions of jobs.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of The Bull Club, Conversations with Leaders. The Bull Club is a webinar series that provides valuable insights from successful investors and financial leaders from around the world. My name is Sam North, the trading school lead at eToro, and I'm happy to be your host today. Now, described as the next potential $1 trillion opportunity, the metaverse, while in its early stages, has caught the attention of users and investors alike. Whether it be attending concerts or the top sporting events, creating your own avatar or games, socializing with your friends on the other side of the world, or even buying real estate and NFTs, it is an area that has taken the market by storm. We have Sebastien Borget, the co-founder and COO of the Sandbox, a virtual gaming world where players can build, own and monetize their gaming experiences. And secondly, we are joined by the eToro founder and CEO, Yoni Assia. Not only is Yoni the founder of the world's leading social investing platform, but the rumor is he helped create NFTs. Sebastien and Yoni, how are you?
Very well.
Very well. Excited about having Sebastien here. And our customers love the Sandbox, and 200,000 people follow the crypto asset Sand on eToro. So happy to hear directly from the founder.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited for this one as well. And I guess Sebastien, the virtual world has evolved loads over the years. I mean, you could say it started with SimCity through to Second Life, and now the Sandbox, which takes it really to that next level. Can you summarize what the Sandbox is, how it works, and the sort of the backstory to how we got to where we are now?
Of course. Well, it's interesting because we just celebrated the 10 years anniversary since we first launched Sandbox on mobile back in the days. And we always had originally this idea to turn players into creators. So using new technology, we wanted to make it accessible for anyone to bring their ideas to life, to let their imagination go through, and to use tools that will allow to build games without any specific knowledge. We spent the last 4 years after this first mobile version to build a platform with a 3D editor, with a marketplace, with a map, with a virtual world, with avatars, a game maker that is no code, and a game client, to truly empower creators and let them create all sorts of 3D content and game experiences that they can own and they can monetize the way they want through the use of NFTs and blockchain technology. Today, Sandbox counts more than 3 million registered users with a wallet. We are proud to have tens of thousands creators actively engaging and populating content on the marketplace, hundreds of studios around the world building the first experiences for some of the 20,500 unique landowners, as well as the 300 most largest brands in the world, which includes Snoop Dogg, Adidas, Ubisoft, Warner Music, The Walking Dead, among others, but also not only entertainment on one side, but also like key actors from the traditional retail finance sector, such as HSBC, PwC, or more recently, even the Dubai VARA, the regulator of virtual assets, that join Acquireland and will build experiences there.
Amazing. Congratulations on the anniversary and those milestones. It's an incredible journey, of course. How would you go on and define the metaverse and the position of Sand in the metaverse?
So Sandbox is really contributing to building this part of the open metaverse. We see it as this myriad of virtual worlds where users, through an avatar that becomes a 3D representation of themselves, can access all sorts of experience, more creative, more social, more fun, more immersive. And what's unique, what's new here is really that the fact that users will own their identity through that avatar as an NFT. They will own their digital asset, such as like wearables, equipment, even like characters, enemies, virtual houses, virtual land. They will own their currency, and they can take that content and move it easily from one platform to another, be able to send it to other users, or even sell it on marketplaces and monetize it the way they want without being restricted by a single platform or one single entity who would like to control it all, which is essentially what we've seen before for the past 25 years. We were mentioning the Sims, Second Life, etc. Those are just virtual worlds, not actual metaverses.
Amazing. Now let's talk a little bit about your competitors. I guess in any field, it's important to know who they are. I mean, it could be a football player knowing who's better in his position, or a tennis player, or an actor, or a company, for example. It's good to know who the competitors are. Who in your field do you notice is a competitor to you, and what would their sort of competitive advantage be, and what would yours be? How does that all sit together?
So I would say essentially the main competitors of Sandbox are like centralized walled garden platforms such as Roblox, such as Fortnite, such as Meta, which still bolsters millions, actually hundreds of millions, even billions of users, and are pushing towards creating a metaverse that will still be centralized, will actually be just virtual world, controlling the user data, controlling the way the user can monetize, how much creators can earn, and not really providing a more disruptive approach, a more creative approach to creating this new digital nation. So the risk at stake is just basically they will keep their existing audience and lock them in, reinforce their dominant position as actors, and prevent the possibility to create a new place where people can express themselves through their avatar, creativity could prevail, and it's a space mostly driven for experiences and for community, Web3 communities, to thrive, to engage, to connect with each other through NFTs and drive value creation for all the participants, creators, and users to contribute to the growth of that virtual world.
So if I remember when we talked, I told you my son is a gamer. He loves Roblox. I'm getting him more and more involved in the Sandbox as well. Can you explain to us like how when you set up, for example, we bought land. On that land, we can develop basically the game itself. The land itself has value. And there are NFTs that could be created in the Sandbox as well. What's the ways when you buy the land, you then can build the world in the land? How do you monetize and create the NFTs in the land? Walk us through that process versus like the centralized version in Roblox. You set up a game, and in the game, if you get to a certain threshold, you can sort of make money through the Robux, right? Which is their centralized digital currency. How does that exactly work in the Sandbox? Walk us through from a creator to a landowner. How do you generate revenues and value?
Of course, it's a great question, and let me walk you through that process as simply as possible. On Roblox, you have to install first the Roblox creation tool. So you have to learn a new programming language to start creating content. So there is already a barrier to entry, a learning curve. Then you create content, you create games, you publish them on the Roblox platform, which is just a gallery of worlds. So there is no connection between one experience to another. There is no relationship. They are just icons next to each other. But there is no notion of neighborhood, avatar working from one to another, etc. Other users can access that game, and eventually you can earn a revenue through the content you sell on the marketplace of Roblox in the currency of Roblox called Robux. People need to buy Robux with real money, fiat, a credit card. So you probably need to ask your permission as a father to get that Robux. But there are no easy way to cash the Robux back. So once you spend Robux, the only way already is just spending that Robux on Roblox. You cannot use it anywhere else. You cannot exchange it for the currency. And the Roblox has only one exchange rate, the one fixed by Roblox as a centralized company. But it gets worse here. It gets worse because creators actually do not earn the amount that you pay the item for them. They get 30% of the value, 70%, of the value of what you as a user consumer paid, but they are exchanging you the Robux not at the same price that they sold the Robux to the first buyer. So you actually get a tiny fraction as a creator, even though you created a game, you spent time, you brought revenue to them, essentially. And I think it is unfair. It's unfair for the creator, it's centralized. There is no way as a user to take your Robux out, to sell the content you bought to another user. And basically, this is not allowing the development of a thriving digital economy that benefits mostly to the creators. In Sandbox, the approach is slightly different. You have creation tools, no code, just drag and drop that are accessible to anyone. You can start creating without any purchase. So you do not need a land to actually create in Sandbox. You just learn, you build your content rapidly. And once you want to make your experience available to the general public, you will publish it on the land. So you can acquire that land parcel. That land parcel has value, you own it, you can sell it anywhere you want, you can buy it from another user. You can monetize it by selling NFTs on your lands or an access pass. You control if the game is free, if it's gated to certain NFTs access. And when you sell a content on the marketplace, you actually earn back 95% of the price that you set. So if you sell for 100, you receive 95 cents. But you really receive cent, not a fraction of the cent. So the value is the same. And then you can hold it, you can spend it, you can exchange it on eToro back into any other cryptocurrency or fiat. So all the value, 95%, is actually benefiting to the creator first. That's one major difference. The second major difference, users do not earn Robux when they play. There is literally no way you can earn Robux as you complete games, you complete quests, etc. There is actually no valuable reward that can be turned into something you can sell in Roblox. In Sandbox, anything you earn as you complete quests, a game, a season, they are actually tokens. They are NFTs on a blockchain. And as such, you can keep it, you can collect them, you can use them to earn more, or as for example, equipping your avatar to get better skills, etc. Or you can sell them on Sandbox Marketplace or anywhere else, which means like you have that freedom to actually monetize the content and earn revenue from the time you spend or the activity. Where it gets even better is like the content you have on Roblox is only useful on Roblox. You cannot use it anywhere else. The NFTs of Sandbox could be actually used on any other decentralized world. And your NFTs from outside Sandbox can also be used in Sandbox. You can display them. You can actually turn a 2D profile picture into an avatar. This is really where like the disruption is that what Web3 blockchain and NFT bring, and why we are pushing so hard so that users, players can finally own their content and creators can be really rewarded for the values they bring into those worlds.
So in order to publish a game, you need to potentially own land. So that is really the value of land is there's scarcity, there's 144,000 parcels, if I remember correctly. And that means that anybody who publishes a game needs to either buy land or potentially lease land, right? So if we have land, we can lease it to game developers so they can run their game and potentially charge rev share from them.
Exactly. So Sandbox has a total of 166, 464 lands. It's a finite number, so there will be never ever any more lands, which means that there is also a limit on the number of games and the space that could host. When you own the land, anyone with their avatar crossing your land, when they go to the edge, they really go to the neighbor land. So the notion of neighborhood, the notion of location does matter, because like, who is your neighbor? If I am the neighbor of eToro, actually there is value in that. We can create something as a community. We can create an experience that spawns across different land. And yes, just like in the real world with real estate, you can own it, you can lease it, you can sell it, you can actually just run your own business or activity, monetize it. You can host your house and have like virtual parties, birthday, dance, show festival, etc. It's your property where you can do whatever you want, what the technology allows you to do.
Yoni, I guess this would be a good time to move on to you, because obviously eToro recently bought a 6x6 land, 36 parcels in the Sandbox. So what made you do this? I'm sure Sebastian's kind of answered a few of those questions already, but why the Sandbox? What excites you about this chapter? And is there anything in your mind that you're thinking about the future that really, excites you?
Well, first of all, I'm a big fan of what's happening both in the NFT space and the metaverse. And again, through the lens of my son on Roblox and now on Sandbox, I see the potential and really this new generation, the Gen Z, who are digitally native and becoming crypto native. And I do believe that this is a great way for brands like eToro to basically participate in the metaverse, to experiment directly in the metaverse, and find out who are the other companies we can collaborate with in the metaverse. So we've done it both from an investment point of view. So our view, we're long NFTs and long the metaverse and long land and sand, but also activating that for us is an experiment, right? It's an experience. We wanted to take a part of that experience and participate in something that our users can actually buy and invest in. So for us, it's really a learning curve, both in the home and at work, to understand sort of how this evolves.
The best way to learn is to do, as they say. Aside from buying the land on Sandbox, which we just talked about, eToro has been very active lately in the metaverse field and recently launched eToro Art and $20 million NFT funds to support creators. Can you tell us a little bit about the two projects, how they interlink and the plans there?
Sure. So we view NFT as an emerging asset class, which is interesting to a lot of our investors who are now trading stocks alongside crypto assets. We believe and see the interest in NFTs. And also, so we launched Delta, which is our NFT tracker, where users can now connect their Web3 wallet to track their NFTs and to manage basically their NFT portfolio. And a lot of the discussions initially we had is there are so many NFT projects. So obviously everybody knows the Sandbox, but even within the Sandbox, their users are generating NFTs. There's so many projects out there. How could our users understand how to start exploring in this world? When we started putting all of the Ethereum NFTs, we found over 45,000 NFT collections, which is funny. It's more than the amount of stocks traded in capital markets all around the world. So eToro.art for us was our way to basically find out who are the interesting projects, which projects are interesting for us to invest in. And through the eToro.art collection, our users can actually see the projects we're investing in, and that enables them to start exploring from a place where they know someone who has that experience. We have NFT analysts, we look at the prices, did the due diligence. So it's a good way to start in the NFT world, is looking at someone like eToro and how and where we invest.
Yeah, it's really good advice for anyone looking to get into the field. Sebastian, obviously one of the developments the Sandbox has had is you've entered the cryptocurrency market by launching the Sand coin. Can you explain a little bit about that, how people can use it, why people should invest in it, these kind of points there?
Sand, which we launched in mid-August 2020, is actually the utility token attached to the Sandbox platform. So you need Sand, first of all, as a medium of exchange in order for buying asset on the marketplace, receiving revenue for the sellers. You need Sand to buy land, and you need Sand to access some of the experiences as well. You also earn Sand as you participate into the play and earn mechanism through the seasons and proving your engagement through the session, completing quests and more. You can also earn Sand if you contribute towards the economy of this new digital world through staking and contributing to the liquidity pools, etc. And also you will be able to use Sand as a stakeholder of the future of the platform, voting for key decisions through a DAO that will put in place later this year.
So of course, this next question, I mean, this is an investment advice for anyone listening, of course. But if you were speaking to a few people that were interested in sand and land, and you were saying to them, or they were asking, which one should I buy and why would it suit me? What would your answer be? How do they interlink? Should it be both or should it just be one?
The interesting aspect about Sandbox is it really appeals to a broad range of audiences. You can be an artist, you can be a creator, you can be a player, or you can just be a landowner, sandholder, or all of them as you wish. So really, it depends on how much you want to invest yourself and your skills to be exposed to the metaverse. Some people, they will just want to bet on Sand and its future, or generally as a metaverse category in the future, just like they believe electric cars or solar power will be an industry for the future. So they acquire stock and they just sleep on them for a long time until they become something relevant several years later. That's one approach, one strategy. Some other, they are more business entrepreneur, and they think of their land as a property to develop to actually drive revenue in Sand. That's another approach, more proactive to generate content and revenue. What's interesting in this Web3 decentralized ecosystem is you could go pretty far as well in using lands and the other tokens of Sandbox platform with DeFi mechanism. For example, you can acquire land, you can collateralize it on a platform, taking a loan in crypto, and using that loan to actually pay for the builders that will develop and create the experience for you, and then pay back the loan to get back the land as you are actually earning revenue on the platform. That's one of the possibilities. You can just also be a virtual landlord and rent it in the future, or even just sell it to future brands that could come by having virtual real estate aggregated across multiple virtual worlds and at key locations that you believe could attract traffic and avatars.
Are there today services that already enable you to sort of borrow against land? And are there already people who lease their land and other people sort of pay them rent to operate that game? And where is there? Are those services within the Sandbox, or are there third-party companies that developed it?
That's a great question, Yoni. And actually, land is almost like infrastructure. There is already businesses and services that became virtual land marketplaces, real estate brokers, collateralization. For example, NFT I believe land is the second most popular category on NFT for people to loan their land against crypto. Leasing, there is not yet at the moment, since the Sandbox platform is not fully open at all times. So once we do, it will come, but we already see a lot of demand for it. And we're also, I think Aave is preparing to have this protocol for collateralization of NFTs. And all of that is possible without even Sandbox being involved, because just tokens on over the blockchain that anyone can use to create value-added services on top of that.
And what's the total supply of sand and how much of the sand the company still owns, and are you selling it? Are you selling it, and what are your plans to do with the rest of the supply?
So there's a fixed total supply of 3 billion sand token. Initially, when Sand was first listed, the company, Sandbox, held about 23% of that supply. Another large portion of Sand was actually in the foundation, distributing grants to creators, to artists, to players with play to earn prize, and to stakers. And we've been following a public release schedule that's available in white paper and on many platform monitoring tokens. There is about a 3 to 5 years release schedule at fixed interval of time. Every 6 months, there is an unlock period at which the company has the possibility to sell a portion of the token to generate fiat that allows to pay for like growing the company, acquisition, and more. And actually, we haven't sold the maximum that the release schedule allows because we have a significant amount of cash from our own NFT collection, the sale of land, etc. But we've been deploying capital into hiring, growing, onboarding builders. And for example, we recently announced the acquisition of a company, full stack Web3 development from based in Uruguay, in Latin America, of 90 people. And we're already preparing for more and more M&A acquisition and bringing some of the best talent in the world to build Sandbox with us.
So you have about, what, 15% of the total supply right now, and then you will continuously sort of sell it to partners, but can users buy sand directly from you or only from the market?
I need to check double check the exact number, but all that data is available on CoinMarketCap. So it's probably between 15 to 20% right now. The goal is like 100% of the sand will be on the market within 3 to 5 years ultimately. And us as a company, we no longer own it. We just get back the 5% royalty fees when people do transaction on the platform. Out of those 5%, half of them is going to the foundation to keep supporting innovation and content, and the other to pay for the operating cost. We are not selling sand ourselves. We never did. We're not going to do it. So the only way for users to acquire sand is actually to acquire it on exchanges such as eToro. And then from there, they are able to use it with their wallet and start interacting on the platform.
Yoni, as a CEO of one of the world's largest crypto trading platforms, we're about halfway through this. So what are your thoughts on the sand token at the moment after the last sort of 30 minutes of information?
So I have to say, I'm actually interested now in buying land. I personally don't own land yet. eToro does, because I think the leasing is very interesting. So what I realized from this discussion, which is interesting, is there will be more and more creators who want to set up games on the Sandbox. Not necessarily all of them have the ability to buy land, which I think land now is about $3,000-4,000. But if I develop a game and I want to test that game, to lease it for $30 a month, which is a 10% interest rate on $3,000, I definitely see that as an interesting business model and how to sort of generate from land sort of a fixed income, right, of real estate. So I think that's super interesting, and I'm convinced now to buy some land. And now I understand better also the sand token economics. How do you see, Sebastien, what creates value to the token of sand? Like what are, in your view, the token economics of sand which will increase? Because it's not really about scarcity, it's about volume, right? Because why would it end? People are constantly earning it, selling it. So explain us a bit the value of the sand token.
Yes, let's get back to the fundamentals of what the Sandbox platform is. It's content creation platform where users can populate with experiences. And I believe like actually the metaverse is going to be 99% made by users, by creators themselves. Right now it's pretty much empty, and that's the number one challenge. We need to show and bring and build a lot of interesting experiences that will attract people to come once, but not just come once and leave forever, but come once and come back every day through retention mechanism, just like in the real world. So like they are engaged, they stay, etc. And we do so by bringing many IPs, many brands that will, like I mentioned some of them, Snoop Dogg, music artists, fashion, lifestyle, gaming, sports brand, who own land, develop experiences that with the systems that the platform provide, they can even create their own play to earn season, they can reward people for their engagement. And through that, it creates this comeback design that brings user back, etc. And when all the experiences on the map will open progressively as the content is being built, and we bring the audience through the fans of the IP, any creator can develop his own community, but can also have access to the massive audience of the platform. Some of them will stay only for the IP, the fan they are, the celebrities they are fan of, but most of them, they will start exploring the rest of the world, looking for reward, buying item on the marketplace. And here kicks off the real circular economy of the platform, where users are trading content with each other directly as NFTs. And here creates more demand for SAN, which is the utility token of the platform needed for those transactions, and will show what we consider will be more of the maturity phase of the platform, where like really the overall circular economy will be will be running at full speed.
Sebastien, you mentioned a couple of times about Snoop Dogg, which is amazing, isn't it? I mean, what a story that is. Can you talk a little bit about that sort of project there, and some further information on the type of buyers that you've seen on Sandbox?
This is, again, like very interesting. Like the audience that Sandbox has is mostly adults, 25 to 45 years old. Mm-hmm. So we are not appealing yet to kids or younger audience, but more like already adults who are familiar with some of the IP, looking for the virtual shows, virtual concert, what the brands will build, running and preparing their own games. But also the core of the community is really around creators, because even before we introduce land, we introduce the NFT or the SAN token, the core of the Sandbox community has always been artists and creators who wanted to make game through the accessible tools we provided. And now they become professional. They run their own studios, they hire people themselves, they build for top brands. Hopefully, even eToro will develop its land through one of them. So we'll contribute towards the economy here of the metaverse.
Working on it.
Excellent. And that's very important, I think, to keep in mind that the success of platform can only come if there is an ecosystem that's also very successful on top of it.
Fantastic. Yoni, if we were to host an event on the Sandbox, which few famous people would you want to be there? From anyone in the world, who has to be there?
Oh, what on our event?
Yeah.
We'll try to get Snoop for sure.
Yes.
But I think it'll be fun to bring like all the apes from one end. So we'll bring like all the famous apes, and then and we'll try to bring Elon Musk to be the DJ.
Yeah, that would be worthwhile attending for sure.
The apes, like Snoop Dogg is already interesting. Like we launched, like he's really at the top of the possibilities creatively. He launched the avatar, he launched his ticket for the concert, he will be performing his first concert. So all of this will be are being built and will be ready soon. But also interoperability of NFTs. So something I mentioned briefly, like the possibility to play with NFTs that are not made in Sandbox. The Bored Ape, if you own certain apes, they will become 3D playable characters in Sandbox. So the way to bring the apes into your land is through actually owning a certain number of like the original Bored Ape NFTs. And then you have the creative freedom to do, play, and create into this whole 3D environment with the tools we provide to actually bring to life this idea.
I have a question. When you create a game and you create items in the game, those are created as NFTs. But are they automatically created on Ethereum as NFTs? And then my question is, does the creator need to have Ethereum in order to pay for the gas fees? Or are you somehow centralizing it first and then the user can sort of detach the NFT from the sandbox into an Ethereum NFT and then pay the gas fees?
The beginning, all the content you create is always off-chain. It only needs to come on-chain and become minted as an NFT at the point of time where we want to put it for sale or you really want to put it as an NFT. Right? Until now, the Sandbox platform was on the Ethereum blockchain, which initially in 2018 was the most friendly blockchain with the largest developer ecosystem to build upon. Today, it's a different story. And for many reasons, we chose last year to migrate everything from Sandbox to layer 2 on Polygon. So right now, sand, land, all the assets will actually be minted on Polygon directly. And that has one benefit as well is we can offer all the gas fees for free to the user. So all transactions become gasless. So you just need sand and that's it. You no longer have to wonder about, I need another currency to pay for the transaction fee on the blockchain itself to the network.
Did you already, because I used the Sandbox in the alpha and it was still on Ethereum. Is it now already on Polygon? Was that a recent transition?
Sand is available on Polygon since March. So several of the rewards are actually being dropped on Polygon now. Next, end of June is land and following assets right after. And then Sandbox will be 100% over Polygon.
And are you going to convert the existing land parcels into basically Polygon? So as a user, because that's a bit of an advanced feature, right? To take an Ethereum NFT asset and bridge it into Polygon, you'll offer those services so people can then basically use more of the land on Polygon?
Yes, correct.
And to finance all of the Polygon gas fees, you basically, as a company or the foundation, just bought Polygon and sort of created a gas station to make all of the even on-chain experience gas free. But still, when you creators are creating the NFTs, it's going to be off-chain, but even then when it moves on-chain, it's still going to be gas-free on Polygon.
That's correct. We're working with Bioeconomy, which is one of the leading providers for this kind of technical solution.
So you see now how this connects all the other assets on the platform, which is amazing to see because it's so hard sometimes to like understand how Matic Polygon actually now gains value from the fact that the sandbox is moving into Matic and you're actually buying their currency in order to finance gasless transactions to basically create a better user experience for the sandbox. It sounds like an awesome upgrade to the ecosystem. Now he convinced me to buy Matic as well.
Hope you got deep pockets, Yoni. Some headlines suggest that the metaverse is a trend, although I guess really, listening to you two speak here, I think it's definitely here to stay and it's got a very promising future. But Sebastien, what would be your answer to them, to those people that do doubt the metaverse?
Well, the metaverse is as much as a trend that the internet is a trend, meaning like metaverse is this technological evolution that will offer new sort of experiences that we access with our avatar. It's going to create new form of entertainment, new way to build value, a whole new digital economy, millions of jobs. And at the end of the day, the metaverse will be as good as the content, as the experience it has to offer to the end user. which we are going to see plenty of. Like, yes, there will be trends of content going and foregoing, but there will never be a lack of experience and content. And all the foundational elements like land as an infrastructure, the values token that support the economy behind the different decentralized metaverses, the creation tools, the interoperability of NFT, all of that, I believe, are the key ingredients that will constitute that technological evolution.
One of the fascinating achievements of the Sandbox, and you mentioned this earlier, is that creators can create without actually having the need for any coding expertise or experience. You know, how, for you anyway, how essential is it for the Sandbox, and how can one become a creator if they did want to?
It's critical that we build a metaverse that is definitely more inclusive for anyone in the world, not only in terms of like equality of chance of access to the tools, to the possibilities, to the jobs, no matter where you are in the world, no matter your social status, your education level, etc. And it's also a challenge. Like, again, the metaverse will be as good as the content you can find in it. So if you want to start a place, a new digital world, where you're not going to see the same as you've seen before, you need to bring new, fresh talent. You need to also surprise and provide an environment that allows people to be more creative with as little friction as possible. 99% of the metaverse will be actually built by users themselves. But if you want users to really achieve that, you need to make the tools not more difficult to use, a paper and a pen, or like in the case of Sandbox, Voxel, which is some sort of digital Legos. Anyone knows how to use Lego without reading the user manual, no matter their culture, their language, where they are in the world. If you start adding a programming language, which is most of the time in English, yeah, it's a new barrier. You need to learn it, you have to understand the logic, etc. That makes it accessible to even less people. To less people, it requires more education, etc. So it's part of our mission, again, to think through that and to say, yes, you, Sam, you, Yoni, not just your kid, could actually find job, spend time, interact, create in the metaverse.
Yeah.
So between, if I want to compare like Minecraft to Roblox, in Minecraft, it's relatively easier to like build worlds, but it's like sort of one world, very sort of still looks roughly the same. In Roblox, it's much more open, but it's much harder to build because it's like a coding environment. Where is like this building in the Sandbox between those two, if you want to compare it?
So Minecraft has a lot of freedom around the environment itself, the look and feel of the world, but very few customization around like the game rules, unless you start modding Minecraft and making your own Minecraft server. Roblox is like literally have no identity into the world they created, because then you can really create anything, but offer more gameplay customization through a programming language. I think Sandbox is sitting in the middle where you can work on the environment and you have access to behaviors components. So you bring enemies, platform, doors, you create system to broadcast messages so that some characters and content can interact based on those rather intuitively, so that we're already seeing a great variety of experiences, even with unique creative aesthetic as well. And yet you can recognize it's Sandbox and not Minecraft and not Roblox.
Are there today courses where you can learn how to build on the Sandbox and how to earn money on the Sandbox? I'm trying to teach my kid how to play to earn, I think, is a great concept. So for those who are not sort of in that lingo, the concept of play to earn is a lot of kids today obviously are spending money when playing. They're buying their Robux or in-game apps. And now suddenly there's a concept where kids or people can actually earn, as you heard, sands, right? So they can actually earn the currency inside the game And obviously, as a father for three gamers, I'm happy for them to earn money instead of spending money. But I haven't found yet an efficient way for them to play to earn. But I think the reason that's interesting is, when I thought about, so why is there an ecosystem that makes sense for play to earn? It's because when you think of the ecosystem of network effects, eventually in a place like the Sandbox, you're going to have people who are apes, which mean they're wealthy, right? So you'll have wealthy individuals. You'll have, today your core audience is 25 to 45, right? But people who are 25 to 45 usually have more money and less time. But in order to create a lot of engagement, right, when you go into the metaverse, you want to see a lot of avatars. You want to see a lot of people in. You need people who actually have less money and more time. People who have less money and more time are usually kids between the ages of 8 to 16. So in order to really create an interesting metaverse, which is really interesting, right, because these are all eventually avatars. So if you think about that environment, it's basically people who are 25 or 45 basically paying for people who are 8 to 18 to play with them in this game and participate and create engagement. So it's interesting. And the reason why this is, so interesting is because usually in our day-to-day, there's a huge barrier between us as adults and kids, right? Which is interesting. I think this is a huge paradigm shift, right? Kids are at school. You don't, as an adult, you almost don't see kids, right? You don't see kids in your work environment, right? You see your own kids in your house. But suddenly in the metaverse, age has a different meaning, right? Because you can have two avatars and you can talk to someone and you're 40 and he's 12 and you don't even necessarily know it, right? It's a bit scary, maybe as a concept as a parent, but it's very interesting to think about how in the metaverse that concept of age potentially disappears. So my question was, can you actually learn today or enroll into courses? So if people who listen to this say, hey, I want to earn Sandbox, are there like courses of how to build a game and monetize on the Sandbox?
And the answer is yes, there is, and there is plenty. There is the Game Maker Academy built by Sandbox team itself with a number of tutorials, videos that explain all the different mechanisms and how to create games. We have a head of education in the US who was a leading teacher, one of the first who used Minecraft edu, Fortnite edu before as well, with whom we created a curriculum that allows to teach iterative thinking, creative design, and other skills that are recognized in traditional US curriculum, even though they are not necessarily being taught at school normally. I think those are important skills for the 21st century to think into the modern way to work in the company. And there is also third-party education program, which we are going to list on an education page at Sandbox and bringing this opportunity to learn game making and creating for the metaverse in many languages, actually. So for example, the Seoul Game Academy or SBS Game Academy in Korea. We have a UFO school in Hong Kong and a few other leading programs in China. We're looking at few schools in Italy, and we're helping to set up programs. I've seen over social media people doing programs in Switzerland with a school in Geneva, etc. We really encourage as well this. If you want to prepare your kids for the future, for the metaverse, and we don't know yet if it's Sandbox that will be, I hope Sandbox will be there for 20 plus years and keep building that future. You have to reimagine the way you teach and how you prepare them for the kind of skills will be needed for the metaverse, including playing games. Playing games, actually, I like to think games, life actually is like a game in a sense you progress, you unlock achievement, you are rewarded when you complete certain mission or goals. you feel you level up as you learn new things, explore, etc. And you can put those skills in practice into the metaverse as you complete games, as you help other users, how you even yourself become a host, community manager, or a coach, like teaching you how to play better against certain type of enemies and more. And those abilities you acquire through your avatar can turn into more revenue as you become a better player and you earn more reward as well that are valuable as NFTs.
That's amazing. I will definitely after this make sure my son goes to your academy. And by the way, we're happy for the Sandbox team to share more information on our social network. So I see a lot of our users are talking and sharing information about the Sandbox, but it'll be great also for directly the Sandbox team. Like if you have an academy and you put out videos on how to create, it'll be interesting to see our users not only become investors of land and sand, but potentially users and creators on the Sandbox.
One thing that could be amazing and is possible thanks to Sandbox is to embrace user-generated content. For example, if you launch a contest using our 3D editor or Vox Edit or a game maker, to invite your community to co-create what will be on your land, or what could be the next NFTs of eToro that will represent you and be usable in the metaverse. You then can find like new talent, new skill for them, make them discover practically what metaverse has to offer for them, and maybe create new vocation, new jobs, new entrepreneur, by the way.
We'll do that. We'll buy some land parcels and then we'll offer on the eToro feed for any eToro users who want to develop games. And we'll try to set up such a competition. That's a very cool idea. It's interesting to think how many of the people who are now like the 200,000 people who follow Sand actually, are potentially creators as well. It'll be very interesting to see if we see that connection between, because it's hard to engage, for users to engage, with Coca-Cola, right? So they can buy the stock of Coca-Cola and they can drink Coca-Cola, but they can't really engage with the company. Here, it's interesting because they can create something as part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really good analogy. What do you both think about for the metaverse to reach its maximum success, its real potential? Do we think we need to see better and more simple VR hardware? Whether that be Oculus or the rumored Apple VR console. Do we need to, take a few more steps till we can reach that maximum success?
There's to put things in perspective. Sandbox has approximately slightly more than 3 million registered wallets.
Mm-hmm.
The overall blockchain gaming ecosystem is estimated to be 100 million wallets. Crypto, trading, etc., probably in the region of 200, 3 million globally. There's 100 million people on Roblox playing every month. There is 1 billion people interacting with Meta, Facebook every day. So there's still this large avenue of how we keep educating and how we start showing that owning your digital asset, owning your digital identity, having an environment where you can be more creative and collaborate with your favorite brand to express yourself and in a win-win kind of relationship where you both have more value doing so is an opportunity that's going to stay and should become the norm. It just makes no sense that any asset, online asset I buy on digital or internet is actually not mine. But it's like the iPod generation. Your kids now listen to music online. They no longer listen to music on radio tapes like we did. So that will come. And back to the idea that the metaverse is as good as the content we provide, we need to have hundreds of thousands of great experiences built by people globally talented, involving brands, involving celebrities in the entertainment side and other activities, any sort of real world activity dating, shopping, commerce, music, work, sport, socializing, clubbing, etc., should come to life in one or multiple metaverses, so that we'll spend more time and the overall audience will enlarge and reach a point where I believe, just like internet, will become mainstream to anyone.
Fantastic.
I think, by the way, that first of all, we need to remember this is very early days, right? So Sandbox just sort of came out of alpha. So this is really, really, really the beginning, right? So a lot of the things we're talking about now is the future. How many games, how many parcels are roughly activated right now with worlds and games, Sebastien?
So when we launched the last alpha, there was 35 experiences. So just 35 versus 100,000 land we sold. So that still need the time to build them with great content. What we showed though is like on 35 experiences, we had an unprecedented engagement level, like more than 60% of the users played for 30 days, reaching the highest level of completion because they had fun, because they discovered new things, because they were rewarded for it.
And how many are now? And what's the sort of next stages of sort of opening it up for more creators? When can my son build a game and I can lease him some of my land?
That's our number one priority. And we actually had an AMA last Friday to the 25,000 landowners, explaining that part of our roadmap in Q4 maximum, we are aiming to have land publishing so that you own land, you can make your experience accessible to others, you can start, and then here we'll start things.
So people can create games now, but only in Q4 you'll be able to connect that game into land. So this is really, really just the beginning, right? So this is like still alpha phase, right? Because we're talking, but people who hear us might think this is, this is really just the beginning of creating this entire world. And I do think, by the way, that which is why what you have now, the 3 million wallets, is people who are basically crypto people, right? So crypto people who are interested in the Sandbox as investors are the ones who sort of came in. But once this is launched, so next year, and suddenly you have maybe 5 or 10 or 20 million also younger people joining the platform as players, not only as investors or creators. So right now it's really about the investors and creators, more about sort of scaling right now the players, right?
Correct. Yes.
So Yoni, we've sort of talked about the future, but let's talk about the current present. And there's recent fears of recessions, increased volatility that we've seen in markets. We've seen meaningful declines, right, in what were pretty stable sort of stocks, the FANGs, the Facebook, the Apple, Netflix, Microsoft, Google's, all of these are under some serious pressure right now. But how do you see it, and how would you act in these times of markets?
So first of all, a lot of users, investors are becoming more fearful, right? So after you're seeing something drop from, whether it's Bitcoin from 64 to 30, or, across the assets, the same with stocks and crypto, the NFT market, liquidity is a bit going down. So we've seen these cycles before. I've seen these cycles from the dot-com bubble burst. I remember like in 1999, people talked about the internet and were so passionate about the internet. They talked about the future, and we all knew this future is inevitable and it's coming. But then the dot-com bubble burst, and that made people, I remember people telling me, because I was constantly talking about the internet, they were like, you see, this is reality now. This is how real economics work. But it took a while before we saw like, Google and Amazon and Facebook be where they are today, and the internet took completely over our lives. I think we're experiencing a bit of that in crypto markets right now, but I think our users and in general people need to understand it's a part of a cycle, right? So only the people who sort of go through these corrections and through these corrections actually learn. One of the most important sentences from Warren Buffett is be fearful when people are greedy and be greedy when people are fearful, right? So what we see usually in retail investing is people swarm to the markets when Bitcoin is at $60,000, when sand was at $7, people were buying sand like crazy on eToro, and now it's at $1.2 and people are afraid. Usually that means that's where the opportunities are. And I think right now we're going into the land of opportunity because a lot of things that were, very high suddenly are 70, 80% lower. And if we still believe in their future, almost by definition, they'll return to their all-time highs. So if I bought sand at $5 and $6 and now it's $1.2, you should like it better when it's at a 70% discount. And I think, my experience is this is when people can actually make money, not when the markets are frothy. And this correction might take a quarter or two or three or four. Last crypto winter was I think almost 2.5, 3 years. Hopefully this is much faster, but there's no doubt that crypto will recover, and the great assets that have great companies behind them building great products will return to, in my view, all-time high. But it just takes time, and now this is where people need to have patience and actually learn and educate themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think experience is key, like you mentioned there. But of course, if you believe in something, you're passionate about it, and you've got good risk management, these are great opportunities. Sebastien, of course, now you've got exposure to the crypto market with the Sand coin. I would love to hear your thoughts and your views on this and how it affects your customers due to this recent market volatility, but also how you feel as well when you see the price go up and down. Does this affect you day to day, or is it something, again, it's long term, I believe in this, and you can have that outlook where you just take a little step back?
I think we're very focused, and that's something that we've shown as we've already been starting to build Sandbox back in 2018, when it actually was a period which similarly to today was more or less like this crypto winter, very quiet markets over crypto. And that has told us you need to keep focusing on your fundamentals, like what's the actual value proposition, what is the actual product that users can use, so that token will reflect the demand after, once there is a real product, there is a real community and real use and users behind. And we've learned that because we've a team of people senior with experience. We spent 10 years, 15 years before us, before Sandbox, before now, in gaming. So we have made products for millions of users, understanding the very first second of their engagement until how to keep them engaged for several years. And the thing that people seem to forget is behind every token, there is a protocol, there is a product, there is a team. There are still projects in that full project, the tokenomics, the token itself doesn't change the fundamental, but what we are building at the end of the day is a product to be used by users, which means we need both, and we need to have solid product to keep sustaining by value and justifying valuation and so on. And in tech is accessible to everyone. It has never been so easy to access capital, to fundraise based on an idea or a project. That means it's even more competitive. You have to get on the best team to build the best product that will stand the test of time, basically. And that is something, don't always keep that in mind as you think, for who you build, how you build it, and how it will sustain or drive your key business KPIs behind.
Fantastic. Well, look, we've run out of time, but it's been absolutely fascinating. We've learned what land is, what sand is, how we can invest in it, how we can build. We've learned that there's the academy where I think we all want to go to now. We've also learned that Yoni wants to buy land himself, and yes, it'll be interesting to see what your son does there as well, Yoni. But look, Sebastien, Yoni, thank you very much for joining us on the Bull Club. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sebastien. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Yoni. See you soon in person, I hope, one day.
Yes.
Thanks, Sam. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. See you in the metaverse.